real estate over there and hustle over here.
Introduced me to one of my good friends is my real estate partner. His name is Tony. And basically Tony would just sit me down and explain to me how the deals work and how to get the deals done and what kind of credit you need and all those things. So I started small, of course, and I just started to add on to that. So I started residential, and then I got to commercial, and now I'm buying multifamily.
Welcome back to another episode of the Uninvited House Guest Podcast. I'm Tony, your host. Today I got a friend of mine in the building, none other than Anthony Alexander. He's a man, a renaissance man, for lack of a better word. He's a homeowner. He is a man of Omega Psi Phi. He's an HBCU grad. He got a couple degrees on some businesses. We're going to get into all the details today. And if there's anything I didn't say, would you please tell the people who you are?
I believe you said it all, Tony. I believe you said it all. Ready to hop in, ready to jump in.
All right, well, cool. So Ant is actually, I helped him get his first home. So we're going to talk about his home ownership journey a little bit. And I think it was really cool is he actually wanted to be an investor before he wanted to be a homeowner. So can you tell us a little bit about what was your thought process when we first kind of initially talked and you were like, hey, let's try the investment?
Thought process, I believe it was 2020. So 2020, everyone's at home trying to reinvent themselves. Everyone's at home saying, you know, eventually we're going to have to go back to work. 9 times out of 10, you probably didn't want to go back to that job. So how can I get this money? And so when I reached out to Tony, I said, man, hey, I'm trying to invest in something. I'm trying to make my money grow. And that was my mindset at the time. Not so much home ownership, but, you know, trying to get some passive income.
Okay, good. Passive income is always good. So throughout that journey, and again, if you remember 2012, the market was crazy. People were buying houses sight unseen. People were waiving due diligence. I mean, it was nuts. So during that process, we seen some properties, some different areas. I know we went to university a little bit. We were around Charlotte. But you changed your mind from being, say, let's do home ownership first to going into a personal home. What kind of made that shift for you?
The interest rates at the time were out of this world. We'll probably not see those interest rates again. Fingers crossed we will, but we probably never will see interest rates that low. And, you know, the numbers were right. When the numbers are right, it makes sense for me.
That's tell everybody the math is the most important part of the homeownership journey. Obviously, it's not necessarily a good or bad time to buy. If you have the finances and it makes sense, move forward with it. So, and again, was lucky the interest rates did drop, and he went down that path. It means we're probably in line to start looking for investment property now.
Absolutely.
So, but again, definitely was, like I said, an awesome process. You end up getting new construction. New construction is a little different, in that the process you essentially have to wait. Obviously, you don't know how it's gonna look like till it's done. Mm-hmm. He was actually in a new community, so it wasn't a lot of models. It was a similar community that the builder had built. But what was there any nervousness for you as far as that waiting, seeing that process happening?
It was a somewhat nervousness. Like I said, new construction, you're happy because you're the first person to move into the home. There's caveats to each. A good thing, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. Either way. So buying an older home, buying a new construction, we can get into it during this podcast, but there's definitely things you want to look out for either way. Going in head first, I thought new construction, I was golden, that I wouldn't have to deal with a lot of things, and eventually I did. So.
Hey, so like I said, there's no easy path for sure. It's definitely, again, bumps, bruises along the way. But home ownership is a journey, and most journeys are about the experience and learning. And then for the next time you do it, it makes it a lot easier. So that being said, I want to transition a little bit. You have a business, a survey business. A lot of people don't know what surveying is. So can you first tell us what surveying is?
Surveying is one of the oldest professions. If you want to Google what the first profession is, you can, but it's one of the second oldest. I'll correct that. Second oldest professions. Basically, identifying property boundaries. So you want to know where your house is. You want to make sure you're not on your neighbor's property. That's the foundation of it all. A lot of other things, but that's kind of in a nutshell what surveying is. My business, I'm working in and around Charlotte now, providing land surveys for new construction, land surveys, private and commercial, to different businesses in and around the city.
So if you ever purchase a home with me and it was actually a home, like not a home, but actual home, I always say, hey, the survey is optional, but if you're going to put a fence in, this is definitely something you want to get. So Anthony will be a person who actually would come in and make sure that things are right. Or, hey, maybe your neighbor actually already put their fence in and they're actually on your property. So now you guys have to make a decision, or maybe they may give you some costs for the gate, or maybe they have to take the gate down. Have you had to jump in and anybody have some disputes maybe?
I deal with disputes all the time, at least one a month. And with surveying and property boundaries, it's never a problem until it's a problem, you know. And I work with a lot of fence companies, and they get these homeowners, especially new homeowners, that call and say, "Hey, I want a fence. I'll pay you today. I don't care. I need it today." And they get out with the materials, they're paid, and they say, "Where are your property lines? We can't just put a fence up in space." And that's when they call me. So definitely important, definitely necessary.
For sure, for sure. So again, if you're in the market for a house, you definitely want to make sure you get a survey if you're getting a new house. What's the rough cost for surveys today?
Roughly, depending on the size, depending on the location, about $800 to $1,000. Again, that's depending on the size, depending on the location of your property.
And again, it's definitely worth it because again, if you put a fence up and it's not on your property, it can cost you obviously tens of thousands of dollars to obviously remove the fence, then put the fence back up, et cetera, et cetera. So the key is to do it to measure. I was gonna say measure twice, cut once, right? So a survey will help you do that.
Absolutely.
So. In addition, he is a lot of people. You own a townhome, right?
Yep.
You own a townhome. A lot of people are obviously on the fence about whether to get townhome, regular home. You chose a townhome. Is it a particular reason why you chose a townhome, or if not, tell us what are your thoughts on owning a townhome now that you've done it?
That's a loaded question. A townhome, it was maintenance. You know, I'm a very busy person. I mean, 10, 12 hours a day of working, go to the gym all over again, even on the weekends. So maintenance. I don't have to worry about cutting my grass. I didn't want to worry about pest control. I didn't have to worry about, the exterior of the home. So these are all the things I was sold coming in, especially being a first-time homeowner. And I said, I don't have to want to worry about these things. I grew up in rural North Carolina where, I grew up cutting my own grass. So it's like, I'm not doing that. It's my first place. It's crazy to me in these times and days. So that's what I was looking at coming in. But I have some reservations now after being in a couple of years now.
Okay.
So
fair enough. So to that point, a lot of people often say, "Hey, it's no way I'm going from apartment to a townhome," and I'm like, you actually are getting a benefit having a townhome. Two things, like even last week we had a lot of storms in Charlotte area, a lot of rain, things like that. People lost power. People who lived in town communities, for the most part, didn't lose any power just because they have backup generators. A lot of stuff is set up infrastructure-wise to help you have to not worry about things. And if you did, there's really an easy call to HOA. It's getting fixed out, right? So that's definitely a benefit. But again, you say you may have some, as now that you've been a homeowner, it sounds like obviously your next move would be outside of a townhome. And can you tell us why you kind of feel that way?
Outside of a townhome, single family detached, a little bit closer outside of the city, or close to the outskirts of the city, just to get away from the hustle and bustle. More so, the townhome community is great. I think for first-time homeowners, it's really ideal because of the different maintenance that you don't have to worry about. On the flip side of that, you're going to have to pay a HOA fee. Closer to in and around the city, that fee is going to be higher, which isn't really a big deterrent, right? But if you have a HOA fee, make sure you're getting the best out of that fee. Do you have a pool? Do you have a playground? Different things, which I don't have, and I have a significantly high HOA fee that doesn't provide those things. So those are things you definitely should look at with moving into a townhome community, or even a single-family detached. Some different single-family detached homes have really significant HOA fees.
Absolutely. So to that point, HOA fees are definitely, I would say most new constructions, they're around $200 or so. They obviously increase depending on the location, as well as amenities. You also, like, if you currently live in a uptown apartment in Charlotte, you technically pay a HOA fee. They tax you per things that they add to your rent, basically. Some people have, internet is included, but you have to do this. So it really just depends on kind of where you're living at as far as the apartment. So you would change over HOA fee. It's really just allow you to get those benefits. And again, as you said, maintenance-free living, for lack of a better word. So to that point, Anthony actually has a very unique perspective on HOA. He actually has ascended to the rank of president of the HOA for the community he lives in. Can you first tell us how you became the HOA president? Was that something you sought after, or was it just came? Did it just come about?
So very interesting. With the HOA role, again, with it being a new community, there wasn't a board in place. So a ballot went out to see who was interested in not even serving a particular position, but to be on the board itself. My philosophy is, you can't make changes if you're not at the table where changes are being made. So I said, you know what? I want to sit at the table, no matter if president, secretary, whatever. I want to know what's going on in the community. In hindsight, ignorance is bliss. However, I submitted my name into the ballot, and the other board members as well. We all talked about it, and I said, you know what, the industry I'm in, what I do, my 9 to 5, this would be the perfect thing for me to do. I kind of understand the players, I kind of understand the vendors, on the business side how it works, and I said, this is something I could do. This is something I could do successfully.
Congratulations, right? Congratulations.
Yeah, right.
So, of course, being that he is on that side of the table with HOA, he can't really complain about the HOA because he kind of is the HOA, right?
Yeah.
So, that's an interesting role, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess how would you say? Let's ask this way: what was the first complaint that you received as HOA president?
First complaint. There's so many, I can't tell you what the first one was. However, I can tell you one of them, grass. What's the schedule for the guys cutting the grass? We're probably on our second or third grass vendor since I've been there the last couple of years. But grass, neighbors, you name it, you'll get the complaint. But I tell the residents in the neighborhood, I didn't fly in to have this HOA meeting to talk to you. I live up the street. So your problems are my problems. Your complaints are my complaints. And that's how I lead every single conversation. And it kind of, tempers them down.
Awesome. So it sounds like, in general, if you have a complaint with the HOA, not just his HOA, but HOAs in general, that you got to realize, obviously, the board is made up of your peers, people that live in community, people who pay into the fund. So for the most part, everybody wants the same thing, which is a beautiful community and kind of no issues. Obviously, there will be issues because there's people, right? With people, there comes issues. As the HOA stuff flows around his desk. So outside of people complaints, what are some of the responsibilities of being a part of the board?
I'll say complaints, but making sure the community is happy, right? Everyone wants a beautiful community. Everyone wants to live somewhere nice. They want their kids to feel safe and be safe. And that's kind of what my campaign was. The vendors, everyone wants transparency. Transparency is huge. When do the vendors come as far as, the pest control, when they come and spray for pests, as far as the landscapers, when they come and cut the grass. A lot of us have fences, so we need to know when we need to unlock our fences. So a schedule is really important. The board is there for the community. We don't get paid. I'm probably at about 10 to 15 extra hours a week just in board duties. And I tell, from outside looking in, everyone thinks, we don't pay HOA fees. We do. They think we get some type of discount. We don't. However, we all hold positions because, we truly care for the neighborhood and we want the neighborhood to be, nice for everyone.
There you have it, folks. If you want to be a part of the people that help make the decisions for the community, it's a lot of work for sure. You don't get any discounts in HOA fees, but it allows you to have a seat at the table, which always is important because sometimes rules get passed in HOAs that are maybe not to your benefit. But if you're on the part that just signs, yes, I agree or disagree, you could have helped actually make it or stopped it from even being something to be voted on. So definitely, again, Anthony has a lot of advice as far as that's concerned. I guess we got to get to the big topic, of course, special assessments. And a lot of times, typically, your HOA, as I said, could be $200. And now you guys want something new, whether it's a pool or you guys want to just stop something from happening. Now you have to ask for either more money every month or you could do a one-time assessment, which could be over several months. Have you guys got to a point where you're doing a special assessment? And if so, what for?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm probably on my second or third special assessment I've had to impose for different reasons. So I can say when we first took over as the board, we had a builder loan. The neighborhood had a builder loan in excess of about $30,000. I had no idea. Our first meeting, our community manager at the time, he's fired now. We have another community management company because of the communication and the transparency, which we hold near and dear. But about a $30,000 loan. So, I started in the deficit with the board. We brought that down to about roughly $10K now. But that was one special assessment. Another special assessment on top of that was for damage to the community itself. Each community has insurances, and that's what you pay into for HOA. But say your insurance doesn't meet that deductible. We have to go to the reserves. And if we don't have reserves, then hey, damage to the exterior fencing from hurricanes, flooding, different things, exteriors of homes that don't meet that insurance deductible, those monies have to come from somewhere. And we have to impose those special assessments. also the budget that we originally got assumed that 100% of residents would be paying 100% of their HOA fees every single month. That's a terrible way to do a budget. I tell you, don't do that for any budget you have. The budget we're currently operating on, we assume 60% of the neighborhood's going to pay their HOA fees. And we've been able to function in the last year very, greatly because of that. So, yeah.
Those are definitely some good points. So if you live in the HOA community, definitely this is, I guess, your time to think about being on the board for the upcoming election cycle, or just being more involved in the process. Don't just be the people complaining. Be a part of the solution. We definitely, sounds like Anthony, again, has a wealth of knowledge as part of that. Again, being a president, of course, he would have to be. Just a quick question for those who live in new communities who are about to transition to the board. Was the transition smooth? And if not, what are some pointers to make it so that they can have a smooth transition from the builder board to resident-led board?
Ask as many questions as possible. And sometimes you only know what you know, right? Furthermore, reach out to Tony, reach out to myself, reach out to people that have experienced it, that are currently doing it, with questions that you may have, or reach out and say, hey, what questions should I have? Because like I said, you only know what you know. And me going in personally, I only knew what I knew. So there are a lot of things I found out on the backside where it was just like, man, if I knew this, I would have did this. If I knew this, I would have did this. In hindsight, your vision is 2020.
Absolutely. So again, we talked about a lot of different things. Survey, we talked about HOAs, we taled about homeownership journey. We want to get back into that a little bit. So homeownership, in order to be a homeowner, is obviously starting in your mind. So everything starts with mindset, the ability to see yourself in a home. A lot of people don't have homes because they don't believe it's possible, right? Obviously, you believe it was possible. You even believe it was possible to be an investor, which again is a whole different mindset. As you start to look into your investment properties, what qualities or things will you be looking for in an investment property, so that you can be successful? What are some of the things that you'll be looking into?
I think the foundation of an investment property for me, like I said, I'm a big guy on safeguard. I'm big on insurance. My mentor told me that once you get old enough, your insurance will have insurance. So as far as my investment property, the foundation of my investment properties, piggybacking off that, is could I live in it myself? Because I'm not sure what's going to happen with the market. I'm not sure what's going to happen with the tenant I put in place. I'm not sure what's going to happen with my current situation where I'm staying. So first and foremost, could I live there myself and put myself in, someone else's shoes? If I could live there, that's step one. Step two, affordability. Can I afford it? How much could I afford, and how long could I afford it before putting a tenant in place in that property? My third thing would be if any work needed to be done to it. Is it a tenant already in place? Would I have to do some work to put a tenant in place? If I had to do some work, how much work would I have to do? Those are just a few things just off the top of my head.
Those are definitely a great list. In addition to the things you said, I will also add, of course, you have to have a team that's ready to help. Obviously, Anthony's really handy. We can grasp that. There's some of the things he said already in the podcast, but you may not be that handy. So you need to identify some people that can assist you in making sure the property is good and get taken care of, because you will get some calls late at night, possibly from some people that live in there, whether it's long-term or short-term rental. But you definitely want to make sure that you have people in place so that you don't have to necessarily do it if you're not skilled to do that. But again, having that list of numbers as a realtor, of course, I always have a list of service folks that you can use and can tap into. Obviously, because again, stuff happens during the real estate journey. My personal, again, I've said this before in several different episodes, that you typically have a 5 to 7 year window where you shouldn't have to have any maintenance issues. If you buy everything brand new, but if you come in, obviously you tenant in place, now you have a different situation. Do you kind of fix things as they arise, find out what their top issues are? So definitely, again, whether you have a tenant in place already or not, it gives you a different kind of, rules of engagement. So definitely keep that in mind as you, again, start your journey as far as that's concerned. It is definitely a good time to be in that market. So typically when you get an investment property, you have to put 20% down. Right now, you are able to get one as low as 5%. So the market is changing for investors. I actually was just, before I came here, I was in a townhouse community where they literally built new construction just for purposes of renting. It's not for sale at all. It's a perfect, amazing view of the city of Charlotte right from the rooftop. So like I said, there are definitely a lot of people taking advantage of the market to take homes, turn them into rentals, because they know people, of course, want places to live, nice places to live, and they're necessarily not ready to jump into the housing market as an owner. So definitely for folks like Anthony, you definitely have the opportunity and ability to become a home owner and then help people have places to live. So definitely want to congratulate you, Carlos, on your journey, and then we know you're going to be successful in that. And any questions, of course, that I can help you ask. This always gives people the time to ask me questions.
So my main question is, I got such a good rate on my COVID first home purchase. Such a good rate. I have a lot of equity. If I wasn't married, I probably would have cashed it out.
Okay.
Probably 6 to 8 months ago.
Okay.
However, it's a good first home. A lot of equity. What do I do with that equity as far as investing? And I kind of feel like my rate is so good that I'm almost locked in, that I can't ever sell this place because it's amazing, right? I can only put a tenant in place. That's my only option. And to keep taking out the equity and trying to reinvest it because my rate is so low. And that's the point I'm at now. What's the next step for me?
Fair enough. Well, definitely, if your rate is a great rate, I would definitely encourage you to kind of stick into that. You typically have two options. So the first option, of course, is to take a home equity line of credit. The other option is to refinance. As he said, his rate is awesome, so there's no point in refinancing. So let's not even look at that option. Mm-hmm. Again, equity line of credit, which again, there's two options from that perspective. But with that, it gives you the flexibility. You're now saying, hey, my home was worth this. I owe this much, and now this is the balance. This is the equity, the two things in between. So based on that, now I'm able to get a credit card essentially with that much money, and I'm able to draw as much as I need, and I can now use that for a down payment on my rental property that I'm going to purchase down the road, or to do upgrades to this house to get it ready for my next tenant, and then et cetera. But yeah, like I said, it gives you a lot of flexibility. I personally have done that. My first rental property, I actually was able to get it cash using the equity of my home. I did it the second time, and I got, again, the down payment for one. So definitely, it gives you some flexibility. It also depends on, obviously, what is your, again, ideal price range you want. I always tell people, yeah, you can get a cheap investment property, but you can have cheap investment property problems, right? Whether that's the stuff that would be broken, the type of tenants, etc. So you want to definitely be in the mid to high range as far as that's concerned, because you have a different level of problems, typically speaking. So definitely, again, identify what it is you want in an investment, and then use your equity to help you kind of grow that. But definitely, like I said, the market is open. It is, like I said, an awesome time. The fact that you only need 5% down is amazing. Because, like I said, 20% down is a big deterrent for people, even in the regular traditional market. So, sure. Well, great question. Anything else?
On the flip side of that, so I got married in the past year.
Congratulations.
So going into the home purchase, you have different credits. First time. Different credits. You don't need to be a part of this deal, right? Mm-hmm. Let me take it on. So you keep your first time homeowner credits, in which she has them. So how can I leverage that investment wise? How can I leverage that bigger house, single family, detached wise? How can I leverage all of those things? That's the point we're currently at.
So, which I'm not a lender, I'll say that, of course. But what I tell people a lot of times is they don't understand is that in North Carolina specifically, you need one to buy, two to sell, right? So if you have a spouse in this case that has never been a first time homeowner, if they can qualify for a home on their own, by all means, you're right in there. It's easy. You can still qualify for everything. If you don't, then that's where you get situation. If you need two incomes to qualify, then it makes it more difficult. But definitely, if you guys have that availability, it's definitely easy to do. It's really just talking with the right lender. And again, if you already have a lender relationship you love, kind of work that angle. I do have recommended lenders, of course, but definitely gives you some advantages that other people don't have. So yeah, it's like I said, it's pretty straightforward from that perspective. And even in today's market, because I can say this, sometimes the credits aren't as good as they were in the past, just because as the market changes, how they put you in houses is different. So you might not even necessarily need those. Okay. You might just be able to. It's a lender right now who I know is lending at 100% based on where you decide to move at. I know another lender who is giving at 97%, again, based on where you decide to live. So there's a lot of opportunities, regardless of if you're a first-time homeowner or not, that you can take advantage of just because the way the market is changing. A lot of people are encouraging people to buy because they're in a point where maybe last year they didn't have the sales they wanted. So they made some unique programs where people can go in and take advantage of them right now. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball, but I think the summer will be really wild. So anybody who probably gets in before the summer, they have a lot of things in their advantage that the people in the summer won't. So obviously right now, everybody, you don't have bidding wars going on really. So a few of them, but not really. We had in the past. So if you can take advantage of that in the first and second quarter, you definitely are in an advantage. Whereas when we get to the summer months and the warmer months of the year, everybody's going to be in the same market because school is changing and people going to want to, if they're changing, neighborhood's going to change before school happens.
Absolutely.
But awesome questions. Anything else?
Only other question as far as rental properties, investment properties. What do I look for? Like I say, I'm sitting on a bunch of equity. I don't want to utilize it all, but say I utilize half, and I'm looking at a townhome or I'm looking at a condo near UMC Charlotte. I'm looking at a condo near Smith. Something that I can rent out to a college student, something I can rent out to a professor, something I can rent out to a traveling nurse, doctor, and I can just literally buy this, unit, not so much a standalone, single family detached, but just buying different units at say 50, 60,000 a unit, and my break even 3 or 4 years, I'm in, I'm making income.
Awesome.
Positive.
Yeah, so for me, I as an investor, I'm a fan of townhomes and condos. One, because the maintenance aspect is built in. There's also a sense of community, so it's less stuff you have to worry about for the most part. But it also allows you to get a variety of tenant qualifications. You list some teachers, students, traveling nurses, and things like that. Always look for a location. Obviously, is important too. You want to be close to a grocery store. You want to be close to a school, potentially, or a hospital. So those are things where if you're close to those things, it'll be easy to get turnover on tenants. Sure. And then if you get into the nurse and hospital system, once you get in there, it's easy. Because again, there's always someone else coming in. I can name, I don't know, about 30 travel nurses at this point. So literally, it's definitely identifying what your niche is going to be and kind of sticking into that. It's definitely, I say not difficult, but it's once you get started, you'll literally have a path. You'll have some learning lessons, but you can definitely move forward from there. But yeah, that's definitely been one of my strategies is to get townhomes and condos and get them in neighborhoods where people want to live. So even in the South Park area, people will still love to be there because, again, the location to the mall. So again, what's the biggest attraction in that neighborhood? Find something that makes more sense, and then if the price is right, based on what they're currently renting for, it's endless as far as opportunities are concerned. And even if you get something that's a little older, maybe long as the community, the reserves are okay with HOA, which again you have to do some deep digging to do that. Absolutely. But if those are okay, you can also do some solid there. There's some communities where again they're right now maybe like the $110,000, $120,000 range. Definitely, 1 to 2 and have 1 to 2 bedrooms where you can get in right now. You can get some solid tenants and it'll pay itself off over time. Obviously, you're going to single family. It's a whole different ballgame as far as because the number of tenants that would be in that particular house. But I do have some friends that are doing some unique things to actually be on a podcast later this month where they'll talk about where they're renting things out by the bedroom and things like that. So again, it really just depends on how creative you want to be. If you want to deal with just one person, obviously you have 1 bedroom, you're really you're restricting it. You're making it easier because it's a one-to-one relationship. Obviously, the bigger you have a bigger family or people, and then you have to go again with the problems, right? So again, depends on what kind of problems you have. It determines what kind of investor you want to be. But again, that's never a bad thing at all because again, at the end of the day, it's passive income, so to speak, right?
Sure.
So, Anthony, you have been a great guest. We thank you for being on our podcast. Again, the Uninvited House Guest Podcast Season 2. We have Anthony on the couch. He has been, again, an amazing person. Can you drop your social so people can get in contact with you or even your business information so if they need a survey?
Absolutely. EdwardsGeospatial.com. That is EdwardsGeospatial.com. Please reach out to me.
And if you're looking for someone to teach you how to be a HOA president, I think you can slide in his DMs. He might have some news for you.
I have plenty of information for you.
But no, thank you for joining the Uninvited House Guest Podcast. It's been a great informational discussion. And again, we're so proud of everything you accomplished from home ownership to marriage to, like I said, just working the things you're doing. We're looking forward to kind of seeing what you have in the future. And to that, we kind of alluded to, I guess, investment and probably want to say, is there anything else you want to tell us that we can look back on this episode and say, hey, he said he was going to do this, he did it. Is there anything else?
The next time I'm on the show, I'll have that investment property.
All right, there you have it, folks. Well, we're working on investment property. Again, Anthony, thank you for being on the show today. And again, we look forward to getting more information about what you're going in the future. Peace.